Hello and welcome to Happy Horror Time. My name is Tim Murdoch.
And my name is Matt Emmert. Today's special guest began his career as a child actor, appearing on many of the biggest TV shows of the 80s and 90s. Seriously, name a TV show from that time and he's probably guest starred on it. But today we are here to talk about his various roles in the horror genre, like playing young Melvin in not only the original Tremors, but Tremors 3 Back to Perfection and the Tremors TV series. He also starred as Perry, the brave student obsessed with demonology in Night of the Demons 2. Please welcome to the podcast, Robert Jayne, also known as Bobby Jacoby.
How you doing? What's happening?
How's it going? We're so happy to have you on here.
Oh, it's going great. Southern California, Los Angeles, sun's out, jumping in the pool.
I know, right? Already. Yep. So, we read, well, speaking of not being from Southern California, we read that you grew up in Queens. Obviously, you started acting pretty early on, but can you tell us, how did you first get involved in acting at a young age? How did that all happen?
Yeah, so, I come from a acting family. I have an older brother named Scott Jacoby, who started acting by accident when he was about 8. My mom heard about an audition in New York. Was looking for parking. He went upstairs, and when she parked, he came down and said, "Oh, I got the role," and that's how it started. And he went on to have a pretty great career. He won an Emmy Award. He did a movie with Martin Sheen and Hal Holbrook called That Certain Summer in 1973. He did some great movies, Jodie Foster. And so what happened was, he was well regarded. So they wanted him to come out to California because that's where all the acting was. And they wanted him to come screen test for a show called Happy Days, So my mom, we packed up the family and we said, let's go to California. I was only about 4. I have a little sister, an older sister, and then we have a middle brother, Billy. So we moved out to California, and his manager said he doesn't screen test. He just won an Emmy Award. He was like 16 or 17 years old. So they said, we got this role called Fonzie. It's smaller. And they're like, oh, no. It's one line. He doesn't do one line, Well, they said, well, we'll give you the role. But that's how we got to California. And we had been friends with the Bayos. So Scott and Steve, their mom and dad, Rose and Mario.
Charles in Charge.
Yeah, exactly. They had owned a car dealership or something. And I just remember being a kid, and I think we were friends with the Travoltas, but I remember Ellen Travolta, John's sister. They were all kind of, I don't know why everybody was always in the same building. I was a young kid, but that started it. And it's funny. I have a different father. I don't talk about it much, but I have a different father. My dad's last name is Jayne, but because Scotty had been doing well, and then my sister was in a show called Eight Is Enough, and then my middle brother, Billy, he started doing a lot of acting as a kid. He did a show called Bad News Bears when he was
Of course.
Yeah, what was he? He must have been 8 or 9 with Corey Feldman and Trisha Cass and Christophe St. John. Mino Palouse, who's Punky Brewster's brother.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
That was the crew. And, Billy got started from that. And, he ended up doing Silver Spoons for a long time. He did a movie called Just One of the Guys.
Of course.
He did all the Bud Light commercials with Jeremy Renner before Jeremy got real famous. I don't know if you remember, there's that whole series of Bud Light commercials. He did some great movies. So that's how we got started, ended up in California. And then, I started at about 5. I did a movie with my sister, and I think it was Beth Armstrong up in Portland. I was very young. And then I did a show called Knots Landing when I was 7. And that went for about 5-6 years.
Oh my God.
I started working a lot when I was 11, 12 years old. I was doing different strokes. And Knots Landing was kind of intermittently happening. But I had the same agent as Brian Green. So they said, look, we're going to have to replace you if you don't show up on set. My mom's like, well, he's doing this movie. It was called Iron Eagle. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
So it was a big movie, and, I had a great part. And so our agent said, well, what about this other guy? It's Brian Green. And so that's
As
how
Brian
Green
Austin Green, like 90210 Brian Austin Green.
And that's how he got on a Knots Landing. he played the same role as me.
That's so fun. I could see that. I could see like the kind of resemblance. You know, I got to ask, because you touched on that your siblings were all actors. So I have to know, were you and your siblings ever competitive about the TV shows or movies you got on? Was it ever like, oh, I just landed on Silver Spoons. Oh, well, I'm on Iron Eagle. Like ever at any competitiveness?
I don't think so. I mean, we all did pretty good in our own right in that time era. It's different than it is today. Like, we were on all the teen magazines, when I was 11, 12, it's different than when my brother Billy's like 16, 17. It's just a different thing. And also, I think the first night I ever went to a nightclub was with my brother and like Alfonso Ribeiro or something, and I was like
the host
13.
of America's Funniest Home Videos?
Yes. I'm sure that's his biggest credit, right?
I love it.
Yeah.
It's a great show.
Yeah, Carlton, Carlton.
Of course, Carlton. Yeah. And then the other question related to your siblings, have you seen any of Billy's horror movies like Cujo, Bloody Birthday, or X-Ray? Because we're fans of all of those too.
I've never heard of X-Ray.
You should check it out.
It used to be called Hospital Massacre, I think.
That's amazing.
But and then you mentioned your other sibling was in Bad Ronald or Dog?
Yeah, Bad Ronald was a good horror movie.
I love it. If you haven't seen it, it's a TV movie. It's great. It's on DVD. You can get it. I'm sure it's online,
you mean your brother Billy playing a killing kid in Bloody Birthday? You didn't love that?
It's funny. There was a lot of interesting horror movies in the 80s. I did a lot of obscure ones. I did this one called Fear Runs Silent once with Billy D. Williams, and we're like trapped in the cabin. And it was just so bad. The monsters looked like a guy in a Sasquatch suit. You know what I mean?
Like Bigfoot.
Yeah. But look, at the end of the day, we all worked a lot. It was a great time making horror movies. It's so fun. Tremors is, it's the gift that keeps on giving. We did there's a guy named George R. Martin, who I think wrote the Game of Thrones book, I believe.
Yeah.
So he's a big fan of Tremors. And he owns this movie theater complex in New Mexico. So last year, we had this big Tremors festival, and he played all the Tremors films in the cinema and all the movies. God. And like 500 fans showed up, and a lot of the cast and crew came out, and the director and producers. It was awesome. And we're doing that again this year in October in New Mexico and Albuquerque.
And growing up, though, were you a fan of horror films?
A fan of horror movies?
Yeah.
Like, did you have any that made an impact on you when you were young?
You know what? I think everybody likes them. It's fun, but doing them is really cool. Like putting on the makeup and, especially like if you think about Tremors or Night of the Demons 2, okay? First of all, did you know Tremors was the last film before CGI, studio film?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
It was the last big studio film of practical effects. It's a really interesting fact. So imagine us in the desert waiting around all day while they dig these holes, and three guys in a puppet have to pop it out of the ground. It just looks terrible. Like, they have to keep doing it. But they got it right. And it just, I think that's what presses upon me the most, is being in that environment with these puppets or fake blood, or like, how they would do the effects, or Night of the Demons when you're bleeding all over the floor and all this stuff. I love that stuff.
No, and that's cool. And we're definitely going to dive into both those movies more specifically. But before we even get into those, I did want to mention, because you were on so many TV shows like Knots Landing, you said The Love Boat, Murder, She Wrote, Different Strokes, The A-Team, Who's the Boss, The Wonder Years, Baywatch, my personal favorite, Small Wonder. I was just wondering, of all your TV show appearances, are there any that like stand out to you the most, or maybe you have like a good story from that experience?
And was she really a robot?
Yeah, can you please tell me something about Small Wonder? Because
I forgot about that. Yeah, that's right. I was on a bunch of those. I think the most fun I had was making movies. It happened in a great, I was a great age, and my parents were just so used to us doing movies. Like they weren't supposed to, but they would just leave me on a set on location for weeks at a time, and somebody would be the pseudo guardian that wasn't even around, like from the set or something. But like, it was a really cool time. I did a movie called Meet the Applegates. Do you know
I
that
love
movie?
that movie.
Of course.
Directed by the Heathers director Michael Lehman.
Michael Lehman.
You're bugs. You're bugs.
We're technically roaches, exactly.
That's right.
Disguise ourselves. We disguise ourselves as humans to take out, like, the human race, and we end up, falling into all the bad graces of American society. I become a drug dealer. My sister gets pregnant and falls in love with a woman. The mom steals money. The dad has an affair. Dabney Coleman was in it.
Yeah, and Stockard Channing and who was your dad in it?
Ed Begley Jr.
Yes, and then the girl that played your sister was in the year before that. She was in 1989 Shocker.
That's right.
By Wes Craven.
Cammie Cooper.
Yeah, I love Cammie Cooper.
Cammie Cooper. Cool girl. Great girl.
What happened to her?
So you preferred movies than the TV show appearance?
Well, I just okay. So there's two sides of it. My younger days, I loved the TV shows, the camaraderie. Back in the day, there was a studio called the Embassy Productions Studio, and they made Different Strokes. Who's the Boss? They made Silver Spoons. So all of us kids were always around each other, because what would happen is if we were filming an episode of Different Strokes, the backside, like the audience on the other side of the audience was the other set. So what they would do is they would just move the audience one way and then shoot the show. And then as you were rehearsing for 3 days in a rehearsal hall, they'd be shooting the other show. So we were all around each other. And we used to run around, Universal Studios. We used to, Ricky Schroeder, Fonzo, my brother, me, Jason Hervey. We used to always take the water extinguishers. We used to get in so much trouble. And we'd have these huge water extinguisher fights all over the studios. That was a really good time growing up as a kid, on shows. I think, but as I hit my teens, man, like 15, 16, it was really cool. Like I went to Wisconsin for 2 months to shoot that movie or 3. And it was so cool, like to go somewhere and feel like you live there, it's not just a week. Like, where's your favorite store? You meet people. And I think, that experience, Tremors, it really inspired my later life. Like now I can't stop traveling. And when I travel, I love to like figure out who's the guy that runs the little coffee shop, So to answer your question, it was really fun growing up doing shows with, other kids. And I mean, I did a movie with Tobey Maguire, his first movie with him, and my sister Whoopi Goldberg. I did, and I used to Leo. We all knew each other growing up. It was just a fun time.
Sounds like it. I mean, it sounds like everyone knew each other. Like you would see it from.
In addition to doing like movies and television, were soaps ever on your radar? Just because I'm a soap fan.
No, not really. No, but I mean, I was friends. Like Christoph St. John before he passed away. He was one of the guys in Bad News Bears with my brother, with Trisha Cass. They went on to do a lot of soap stuff. And I knew Christy Clark pretty good. She was in our little crew. She was on a show, I think.
Yeah.
I knew. I used to play basketball with Brian. His last name's getting away from me. Steve Burton, I knew really well.
Oh yeah, from General
Hospital.
Hospital.
Ended up dating Tara for a while. When we got a little older. So no, the answer is no. I think I did some when I was a little kid, like St. Elsewhere or something. I don't remember it.
That's so funny.
But I really kind of look at my career from as I got out of my teens, and that was really when I was doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Well, so starting with the first horror movie that we mentioned, 1990s Tremors. So you play the practical joking teenager Melvin Plug, who's one of the 14 residents of the town of Perfection. So can you tell us, like, what was the audition process like for the role of Melvin?
Funny story. I was doing Meet the Applegates, and the first AD, his name was Mike Tapuzian. Okay, cool guy. But I was getting in a lot of trouble. I was 15, like literally, like nobody was ever on set with me. I'm alone. I drove to Wisconsin. I didn't even have a driver's license. Like I drove from LA. I drove all the way out there. It was like 50 hours.
Wow.
It was amazing. It was an amazing road trip. I don't know how I made it. Like
I was gonna say, yeah.
But I got there. But I was getting a little bit of trouble. I was having a great time. And Mike goes, you know what, man? You're such an asshole, dude. I'm prepping for this movie. Dude, you gotta be in this movie. And I'm like, huh? I go, what is it? Sure. It sounds great. Whatever. So it was Tremors. And I didn't realize it was like Kevin Bacon and this Universal. I had no idea. So I go to LA and I go to have this meeting with the director and the producer, and it's Ron Underwood. And Ron Underwood, before that movie, had not directed it. He had only done like corporate videos, but my sister was in one. Ironically.
Oh.
So I'll never forget. I'm waiting in the waiting room, and I asked the casting director, I think it was Pam Dixon. I said, "Is there sides or something to read?" And she's like, "No, it's fine." But I see other guys there reading, including some of the guys I knew, and they were reading for the part. It was like interesting. So I went inside the room, and Ron's just awesome. We're friends to this day. He'll be in New Mexico, by the way. So we start talking. I swear to God, after like 5 minutes, he goes, "Do you want to be in the movie? You'd be great for this movie." And I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, amazing. I didn't know much about it. And it was like the coolest thing, And I walk out and like I see people practicing their sides. I'm like,
oh no. So all those people that were like preparing.
Yeah, I know, like, and I'm not gloating. I'm just saying, like, I know what that feels like, But it was so cool because then I showed up. I'll never forget it. The read through, like Kevin Bacon's there.
And what did you think of the script?
Ward, huh?
What did you think of the script? And was it
yeah,
originally
like
called
were you
Tremors?
like, what the fuck is going on? These are like worms underground, or were you like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever?
No, it was really, even then I was 15. The script was really easy. It's used in colleges as like a perfectly structured film. Okay, and what's interesting about it is the fact that it's a horror movie during the day, and it's like I think Steve, when he came up with the idea, he was sitting on a rock, and he said, "What if like it was like Jaws, but in the desert?" And that morphed into Tremors. Tremors, it's an interesting, you want to hear a funny story? You know why I have a last name in Tremors? So if you ever look at the credits, it's Melvin Plug.
Yeah. Plug.
So I got in a little trouble. And it's a long story, but whatever. I was in character. So there's only 2 motels in Lone Pine, and they hadn't booked me a room for July. I ended up staying over a holiday because they moved around the streets and I didn't have a room. And the motel owner's like, "No, we're not. He can't stay here. He's got too much trouble, blah, blah, blah." And like, "What are we going to do?" They're like, "Well, we'll book him into the other motel." But they're like, "No, the same guy owns it or something." "Well, why don't we book him under his character's name?" It was like this whole crew thing. It's okay. So everybody like got together and decided what should his last name be, because he doesn't have a last name in the script. Like that was the joke, like no last name. You never see his parents, right? So they came up with Melvin Plug and booked me into the other motel.
Well, where did they come up with Plug?
They just felt it was appropriate.
That's funny. So they used it for you. So you checked into the motel under Melvin Plug?
Yeah.
That's
for the
amazing.
rest of the film.
You said because one thing that's never mentioned in the film, which I think is so funny, is that you're a teenager in this town. Your parents are nowhere to be found. They're never mentioned. Did the filmmakers tell you any like backstory on like why your parents were MIA?
No, there's like one line in the movie that they're in Vegas.
I was trying to figure out when I was watching it. I was like, because I must have missed that line. I was like, no, which one would be his parents?
Yeah, we didn't know if like the other characters were your parents, and then I'm like, wait, no, none of those characters are his parents. He's just there.
It's there.
That's so fun. So, you were talking about earlier, you mentioned how this was before CGI, and like we are introduced to these huge slug creatures called the Graboids. What was it like? What was it like working with them? Because you said they were puppets, right? So like, how would that all work out when you were on set?
So look, it's really interesting looking back. Gail and her just divorced. James Cameron.
Yeah.
Okay. Steve and Brett Maddox had done the Short Circuit movies with Universal. So they had some street cred as writers. So they took a producer credit and they said they want Ron to direct it. And, it was a big thing. And they got him in. Okay. And I think Kevin's wife was pregnant at the time. So what's interesting is this, super harsh conditions. Okay. They literally built that set in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere. We had to ride there every morning, 40 minutes. And because you're on your roofs, you never know if they're going to see you in the background. So everybody would have to be there all day just waiting. So it's like a long shoot in some ways. You'd be there for 14, 15-hour days in makeup and hair and not work for days on days. So I'm just kind of giving you a sense of the conditions. So on top of that, right, you have to imagine Gail wants to hit it out of the park, right? I think they'd just done The Abyss, okay? And, you have these big puppets, basically. they had to do stuff on that movie that was so cool. The rocks were fake, you know.
No, I didn't know that.
Those are fake foam rocks. They built those.
Oh my God, no, I didn't know that. Okay.
They built those. The scene where he's taking the big piss, and then at the end of the movie, the monster goes through that big cliff. That wasn't a cliff. That was a glass where they paint the picture on the bottom.
Oh, wow.
There was no cliff. Yeah. That's old school. That's like Roger Corman style, you know, like film school stuff, right?
Yeah.
So if you ever watch a movie again, that cliff is not real. It's literally one of those glass sheets with a painting on the bottom.
It looks really great.
It really does.
Awesome.
But wait, real quick. Do you remember when it looks like it's going under the ground? It looks like Jaws, but the dirt.
Yeah.
Like they literally took like a volleyball, okay, and tied a rope around it. They dug a long ditch. They put filler's earth in it, and they had a tractor, and they tied the rope to the tractor, and they literally pulled this thing across the desert. And what's cool is like you look back now, it's like, wow, that was all practical.
But this is the cool stuff that we love hearing because you see it and it looks so good on film, but it's like, I love hearing about how it was actually done, you know? I mean, yeah,
dude,
you said multiple
the
people.
Chains market was on hydraulics.
Oh.
It moved.
So anytime like the puppet would come, so like when it was like attacked or something, it would be just on hydraulics.
Yeah, there's a couple scenes in the movie where like the roof collapses. That's all done with hydraulics. They had hydraulics and they would just drop the roof and then they could put it right back.
And when they blow up the creature, what did they use for the guts? What did they throw at you
that
guys?
Gross orange shit. What was that?
It was like, I forgot what he told me. It was like gelatin and food dye or something. It was so gross.
I thought it literally looks like burrito paste or something.
It was funny because whenever I went to the showings, including the premiere, I remember at the premiere there were these two girls in front of me, and they just kept saying, "God, when is he gonna die? I hope he dies next. I hope he dies." And then everybody cheers when I get like smashed with the pumpkin stuff, whatever that was. I think it was pumpkin now. Thinking back.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I think it was pumpkin. I don't remember.
That's what. So you starred alongside a pretty incredible cast. We mentioned, it's Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward, Michael
Reba
Gross,
McEntire.
The Reba McEntire's first movie, a pre-Jurassic Park Ariana Richards. So can you tell us maybe just like a little bit about working with some of these stars? Like what were they like on set?
So you know what? Like especially looking back and working with some interesting people since, Fred Ward was he was Remo Williams. He was like the coolest dude. That guy was a dude. Like salt of the earth. Reba McEntire was so sweet and nice. I had never heard any of her music. I didn't know. But you never would have known. Super sweet. Kevin was quiet. I didn't get to know him too good. Standoffish a little bit. I mean, like I said, his wife was having a baby, but he was always really nice to me. I got really close with Michael Gross. We have the same birthday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So to this day we talk, and then, what was cool? Was it Victor Wong? Is that his name?
Oh, the guy that was eaten.
The guy at the
remember what
store.
movie he was in, right?
What movie?
Oh, broskies. The Golden Child with Eddie Murphy.
Oh, I love The Golden Child with Eddie Murphy.
He's the dad at the Buddha temple that wipes his booger on his jacket.
My big takeaway from that movie was a dancing Pepsi. I was like 8. Yeah. Do you remember the dancing Pepsi?
That was another good moment.
Yeah. I don't know.
No, but look, it was cool. Ariana was young, sweet. I'll tell you a funny story just before we move on. I have this line in there. I say, "Way to go, dudes."
Do they say it to you? I can only imagine everyone says that to you.
I know. And if you look on YouTube, there's literally people have gone crazy taking that clip and cutting it ways. They've put it to Backstreet Boys. There's a techno mix with lights. There's tens and tens and tens and tens of thousands of hits. It's amazing. And I'll never forget. I didn't want to say the line because I just thought it was so not cool. 16. And Ron's like, "Come on, man." I'm like, "Ron, this is so dorky. My friends are going to see this." And it just became this thing of its own, right? And he's like, "Okay, Tori, just do it one time." I'm like, "Just do it. Just let's do it. It's in script. And I go, "Fine." So I did it. I'm like, I'm just gonna do it really shitty so they don't use it. And I did it once and go, way to go, dudes, almost sarcastically. He says, okay, print, moving on. So I learned a lesson there, like, don't ever do anything half-assed.
Because then it'll be used. Yeah.
It'll absolutely.
By the way, after this interview, I'm totally looking up these remixes. I love when people do that.
Look up Sparta remix, way to go, dudes.
But no, I don't know if I should say this, but I'm going to say it. Whenever I think of the movie Tremors, I do think of that line.
That's so funny. It's funny because you mentioned Kevin Bacon. We saw this quote from him about Tremors. Apparently, like when he first filmed it, he wasn't so fond of it. But then later he said it was the single most fun time he's ever had making a movie. And that, quote, I spent years trying to capture the same energy we had on the set of Tremors. Do you agree with that sentiment? Like, was the shoot as much fun as Kevin Bacon said?
It's just like you felt like you were on a ranch. It was a small town. I used to watch dailies like at the back of a restaurant every night. We were just there in the desert. I mean, it was beautiful, but it was hard. I think it was funny. It was just easy, Yeah, it's too bad. What happened was initially the film was called Beneath Perfection. So every once in a while, you'll see these set jackets. It says Beneath Perfection, or you might see a poster. That was the title before they changed it to Tremors. And from what I understand is the concept was not to sell it as a horror movie. It was supposed to be a fun kind of horror comedy, but not really a horror film, family film. And they really wanted to market it as a horror film. And I think Steve and those guys always felt that misled audiences because it was in and out of the theaters really quickly.
I saw it opening day.
I saw it in the theaters when I was a kid. I remember.
It was kind of considered a bomb, right? Like it didn't make that much money. It was in and out. And then next thing you know, my kids are watching, still. But let me just touch on the Kevin Bacon comment. It's interesting. He never was in the shows. He didn't come to we had a big 25-year reunion in Louisville years back. And it was really cool. I mean, every time we've done one of these things, like 500 fans flying from Australia, all over the world. It's amazing. And he didn't come. And then we did a, where was it that he did that? I think it must have been the museum in Lone Pine. Okay. And it has an exhibit for Tremors stuff. It's an old Hollywood Western movie museum. It's actually kind of famous. It's on the way to Mammoth Mountain. Okay. It's in Lone Pine. And there's this really cool exhibit. And I think it was there. Kevin recorded something for everybody and it was funny and it was great. And then in New Mexico, Albuquerque last year, we did Q&As after the film. Like it was 24/7 Tremors, full packed houses, 3 theaters going. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah. And he did a thing there. So I'm holding out hope he might show up at one of these, He actually was at my bar, ironically, like 2 months ago. He wandered in with Kira, and they were drinking some beers, watching a soccer match.
Wait, were you there? Did you guys?
No, he doesn't. No, I own it. Ironically.
Oh, that's so fun. How about, has Reba ever showed up to one of the reunions?
No, Reba's, look, I think Reba would. I think she wanted to come to New Mexico. She's just so busy, and those tours are set up so far in advance,
Yeah.
But the answer to that is no.
Well, going back to 1990, what was it like seeing the movie for the first time? And was there a premiere back in 1990 when the movie debuted?
It was the coolest thing. You guys like back in the day, like doing a movie and then like going to the movie theater and then it's in the movie theaters. Tremors came out the same time as Meet the Applegates. So I had 2 films in the movie theater. It was just so cool. And Meet the Applegates, they premiered it at the Man Chinese, the old Man Chinese, before the extra theaters.
Wow.
Oh,
it was
so cool.
So cool.
I was so excited about seeing that movie because it said like from the director of Heathers. I was like, "Oh, this is going to be awesome." I love Meet the Applegates.
The other one was Can't Hardly Wait. They did at the Man Chinese too. That was
so the Tremors premiere wasn't there. Was it in Hollywood or?
I don't remember where it was. I don't remember. I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
It played in all the theaters, so they always had it at one of the theaters it was going to play at.
Yeah. So, since we're kind of on the Tremors roll right now, we're going to skip past Night of Demons 2 just for a bit and jump ahead 11 years to 2001 when you reprised the role of Melvin in Tremors 3, Back to Perfection. So first off, like, when and how did you hear that the filmmakers wanted you back? Like, were you ever considered for Tremors 2, or they just wanted to bring you back for part 3? How did that all happen?
I think it was this. I've always maintained a great friendship with, like I said, Brent and Steve, who wrote it, and Ron, of course, and Nancy Roberts from Stampede, who produced it. The studio didn't want the original folk on the Sci-Fi show when they were shooting this. They shot it down in Baja, but they wrote me in anyway, and I did a few of those episodes, and I think it was there. I don't remember if that was before or after the third movie, actually.
I think the TV show was 2 years after Tremors 3.
So that's how I ended up on the show because of Tremors 2. I have a reverse, okay. But Tremors 3, I think what happened was, I don't remember if I ran into them. It was the same kind of thing, or I called Brent, and, he just told me they were doing something and he wants to try and get me in the film. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Tremors 2?
The one with Fred Ward? No.
But that's not the real, there was this is a great little unknown fact. So there was a big studio version of Tremors 2 ready to go. Paul Hogan was going to be in it, supposed to go shoot it in Australia.
Crocodile Dundee.
He was famous back then, right?
Yeah.
So the idea was Tremors goes to Australia, right? There was a script written, everything. And Paul Hogan was going to star of it. And what happened was Tremors did so bad in the theaters, they wouldn't greenlight the sequel. So what happened was they said, but the home division, the home video division is what it was called back then. They were willing to put up some bucks to capitalize on the film's theatrical release, but it was going to be super low budget, and that's how all those movies got born.
That's so funny that because then they went. Michael Gross has been in like all of them, I think.
He loves it, and it's funny. It's so low budget, like it reminded me of like Night of the Demons 2 or something. Because they'd be filming and they'd be like, "Cut! Wait, we see McDonald's in the background. We gotta move the camera to the right a little bit. We gotta redo that take."
But one of the cool things though about Tremors 3 is that a lot of people from the original film came back, like Michael Gross, who played Bert, Tony Gennaro, who played Miguel, Charlotte Stewart, who played Nancy, Ariana Richards. What was it like reuniting with everyone 11 years later?
Great. It's just good people. They're just good people. Especially Tony, sweet guy.
Yeah, and then they killed him in that movie.
Yeah.
They killed. Okay. Do you also they made you into the part of Melvin? He kind of was like a real estate guy who was trying to like buy all the land from the people in Perfection. Did you think that was in line with where you would have thought Melvin would have been?
Sure. I just don't know where you go with those jean shorts I wore in the first one. And this red Converse.
And would you have preferred a larger role, or are you cool at that?
It's fine. No, look, I've done a lot of roles, man. That was fun. That was fun as it was. Yeah.
Did you, and then since you were on 2 episodes of the TV series, like how was the experience working on a TV version of Tremors different from the movies?
You know what? That's one of the best times I've ever had doing a TV show. Actually, dancers, because it was, we're staying down in Baja, right? And back then, if you were on a drama show, you're getting 8 days. It's not like today where actors do what they call it like a one-day guest star, Back then, you're there 8 days, and if it's over a weekend, you might get 13 days of it. I was in I think we did the episodes either back to back or there was a week. I don't remember what it was, but I ended up staying down there for like 2.5 weeks. And I'm in Rosarito, Baja, at this amazing resort. That's where we all stayed. It was just, it was amazing. And
cool.
And I only worked like half the time. So it's like most of the days I was just kicking at the resort.
That's awesome. And did you know anything about the revival with Kevin Bacon?
The one that was supposed to happen that got scrapped. It was like 2017.
No. I knew they were making it. I didn't reach out, but look, if
mean, it never happened. So
yeah, no, I think it's ironic that, like, you know, he's not associated, but then he tries to go to the show, you know. But I wish him well, man. I've done a lot of Tremors in my life.
Yeah, it's funny though, because he had announced it and it was big, and we read that they had actually filmed a pilot, and then a year later he announced, oh, they're not moving forward with it.
I think I would have been offended if, like, you know, Michael, other people were in it except for me. But look, man, I mean, you know, that guy is a movie star. You know, he knows how to make things, and, you know, he thought that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Cool.
So shifting gears completely, now going to 1994's Night of the Demons 2, which we both really love. Tim is wearing a Night of the Demons 2 shirt right now, if you can see that. Actually
amazing.
Yeah, so you start as Perry, who's one of, like, the only responsible students in this school, knows all about demonology, Hull House. So, well, first off, how did you first get involved in Night of the Demons 2?
You know, as you're talking about it, I'm trying to remember how I ended up in that movie. I don't remember, to be honest. I'm assuming I auditioned. I do remember meeting the director, though. But you know what's interesting is I remember this. Look, it might not be true, but I seem to remember for sure that he had always envisioned it as like a dramedy, but we didn't know it was a drama. We thought it was a serious horror.
Yeah,
really.
It has a good balance, because I think it looks brand spanking new. Like, if you've seen the Blu-ray, it looks like it was made yesterday. The cast is so awesome. I just love it.
I gotta ask you guys something. So I missed it, right? Like, I never saw the first one. I never heard about the first one.
We were just about to ask you.
Yeah.
Well, why was this? Because why did this get so much play in the horror community? Like, from that movie, I get invited all the time to go to, like, all these conventions. I don't go, but, you know, it's a big deal. Why? Like, why did this touch on an audience?
I think it's because it's a hot young cast. They're all just ridiculously horny. And it's fun, because it's not like The Shining, or it's not like the deaths are funny.
Yeah, like, to me,
it's over the top, right?
Very over the top.
That's the thing. I was just gonna say, like, and it's no offense to Night of the Demons, but, like, it's not a serious horror movie. Like, no one's looking at it like, oh my god, it's like a
Friday the 13th,
or not Halloween.
It's
or
like a
Psycho.
Shaun of the Dead vibe to people.
Yeah, it has a Shaun of the Dead vibe. And so when you can go to a horror movie and, like, have fun with it and not take things so seriously, you can even invite your friends who get scared of horror movies. And I think Night of the Demons 1 was so over the top, with Linnea Quigley, like, putting a pair of lipstick in her boob, and, like, everything was so overly sexualized. So in the sequel, like, I mean, even all those transformations, it's so over the top and kooky that I think people just love it.
And where was it filmed?
Yeah, do you remember when? It was because they used a different Hull House, and the funny thing is that there's a bunch of cool scenes in it, but, like, you are playing this character who's, like, doing, like, you have this scene where you're filming a seance, and I don't know if you remember this, but you end up, like, summoning Demon Angela, who jumps through the mirror and grabs you. Do you remember how they filmed that scene? Like, I can't imagine too many effects.
I don't remember doing the scene. But I imagine, you know, they just had you know, she was just behind a false wall or something. You know.
I'm going to ask you about one more scene, and if you don't remember, it's totally okay, but because it's, like, the craziest scene in the movie. Like, you guys are all at the Halloween dance, and then you're watching the character of Shirley, who's played by Zoe Trilling. She's now a demon, and, like, her boobs transform into a hand that grabs her boyfriend and starts melting him. How the hell did they do that? Or do you remember anything about that craziness?
I'm going to take the fifth.
Well, one of my favorite actresses is Christine Taylor.
Oh yeah.
What was it like working with her?
She's cool. She married somebody I know. Did she marry John Asher?
Ben Stiller.
Ben Stiller. That's right. Ben Stiller. Wow. That's right. Yeah, she was great. She was super nice. We were friends. I'm trying to remember where I knew her from. Outside of that, I don't remember if we worked together on something else, but no, just super sweet girl. Yeah. I remember her well.
Brady Bunch, Hey Dude.
Yeah. And she does a podcast now where she looks back at 90s stuff, so she may have you on.
Yeah.
I've actually been doing a lot of podcasts these days. It's funny.
Really?
Because everyone wants to know what it was like at that time because nothing before social media, there was no.
Yeah, before social media, you didn't document everything.
Nothing was documented, so we have to go on your memory.
It was pretty wild, that group of kids, man. Pretty wild.
The Night of the Demons cast?
No, just that time frame.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Feldman and Haim and all those guys.
Did you see Soleil Moon Frye's documentary, the one that she made?
I didn't see it. I saw clips of it. I think there's pictures of me in it or something.
Oh.
Yeah, we knew each other well. We were friends. I went to her school, like third or fourth grade. She went to this school that was like a lot of actors went to. Beck was there, and she was there, and her brother. And my brother and I went there, and my sister. So we knew each other well. Very well. I knew her stepdad, Virgil.
Oh, wow.
Sean, and I knew Virgil, her real dad.
One more question about Night of the Demons, even though it feels like you kind of blocked that.
No, it was a great time, fun time.
Yeah. So your character. So the thing is, it's so funny because your character's so different than your character in Tremors because he's like the more responsible one, Perry, and he goes back to Hull House. He's fighting all the demons with like water balloons and stuff. And then, spoiler alert, he gets killed at the end. Gets like a baseball bat with spikes in it, and because he sacrifices himself for one of the bullies. And I'm just wondering, how did you feel about your character's demise? Do you think it was the right choice or would you rather him survive?
It's such a bummer death.
It is a bummer because your character's one of the only people that's not annoying.
But you know what? As we talk about it, isn't that totally the sense of humor of the movie? Kill the good guy.
Yeah, I actually thought you were going to be the survivor.
I thought you were the
weren't.
final boy, and then you weren't. And the funny thing is, he kind of sacrificed himself for one of the bullies. I was like, what?
You saved yourself for this jerk off.
Yeah. Do you remember anything about that, or were you bummed that they killed your character?
No. I mean, not really. I don't think I ever really hung my hat on, hoping to do more of anything. I was always pretty lucky with stuff. I'm not saying anything. It's funny. A lot of stuff I did wasn't like the A+ movie, but super memorable. Even Wonder Years to this day is crazy. I only did an episode, but everybody remembers, Eddie Panetti.
Yeah, because you were a bully, right?
Yeah.
Or the drunk on Different Strokes.
Yeah. Oh, now when you were on Different Strokes, did you meet Schaefer Ross?
Oh, yeah. Shavar.
I said Schaefer. Sorry.
I was on that show with Jason Hervey, Shavar, and I was on it over 2 years. It was amazing. I did 10 episodes from it. I don't remember.
Oh.
Did you go see his film Friday 13th Part 5, A New Beginning?
Shavar was in that.
No way.
Yeah. Well, I have to ask, did you go see Night of the Demons 2 when it played theatrically?
Yeah, was there any?
Oh, yeah, for sure. No, look, I loved, especially when I was 15, 16, 17, 18. When did they make Night of the Demons 2?
94.
So 94, yeah, I was 21. You realize you got to film in the movie theaters.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. So I definitely would go to the movies. Can't hardly wait. I went to the movies more than a few times because all my friends love the movie and they want to go see it,
Of course. I saw that opening day.
Yeah, I saw it opening day too.
That was cool, man. That was one of the most fun movies ever to make. Ever.
You played one of Seth Green's posse members, right?
Yeah, Seth actually lives right behind me. It's interesting.
Oh my gosh.
In LA.
So you guys are still in touch.
Oh yeah. I just went to his birthday party. So Seth, I don't know if you know who R.D. Rob is. He's he was in that group with Leo and Toby. They're a little bit younger than me. So Toby Maguire, Leo DiCaprio, R.D. Rob, Mike Lehman, who is my sister's best friend's younger brother. They had their little crew. So R.D. Rob's the one that shot the short, and they tried to make a movie, and they ended up suing him and all that stuff. So they weren't friends anymore.
Oh yeah, what was the title of that short?
I don't remember. I just remember they were shooting some kind of a short, and then he tried to cut it into a movie, allegedly. So his mom was a manager in New York, Artie Rob. And Artie Rob's mom, I think, was managing Seth Green. So it's kind of incestuous, almost how we all know each other from New York and LA. So I knew Seth from when we were 10 years old, 11 years old. And then you flash forward, we did a movie that I was the lead in called the day my parents ran away, which was literally, it's about this. I was supposed to be a 16-year-old kid. I was like 30 at the time. The guy who was Max Headroom and Blair Brown and Martin Mull was in it. And basically, it's about this teenager who wakes up one day and there's just a note on the fridge. His parents, they say, we can't take it. We're out. We can't take it.
Oh my God.
And so what's the kid does? He goes, it's party time. So Seth played my buddy and this guy Chance. And we just, it's like literally a movie of parties that we shot at the ranch.
Wow.
Terrible movie. Absolutely terrible movie. But then Can't Hardly Wait came around and, I was up for Seth's part. But I was just too big. They wanted like somebody funny, but they're like Debbie and Harry, who directed it together, okay, husband and wife. They're like, yeah, look, but we want you in the movie. We just don't know where yet, which is how all those people ended up in the movie. So initially, like, if you ever read the original script, if you can get your hands on the script, it's really cool. Most people don't have character names in it. It's like Watermelon Guy, Homeboy 1, Homeboy 2. Like, so I originally was going to be the Watermelon Guy, which is Jason Segel played it.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was going to the read through and I'm like, dude, if I read this part of the read through, I'm going to be this part. So I was really late to the read through. I got in so much trouble, but I did on purpose. And then I was like, Seth, dude, I want to be one of the homeboys, man. He's like, all right. The next thing you know, they call my agent and they said, you're going to be one of the homeboys with Brandon Williams. And that was it, man. And we just shot that film and look at all the people in it.
Yeah, Jerry O'Connell,
Jennifer Love Hewitt, Ethan Embry, Lauren Ambrose. Yeah,
Amy Presley, who was friends with Tamala Jones.
She's so funny.
Yeah, it is. You look back at those movies and it's like all these people that were so big back then. I remember because I was a teenager then and I saw it and I was like, oh, you could really, like, if you were a teenager at that time and saw the movie in the movie theater, it felt like you were like one of those people.
Jenna Elfman, who was like Odie Elfman's cousin.
Oh my God, yeah, tons.
It was a fun movie. And then it comes out, it was a fun movie in the theater. Like between that one and Tremors were like two real fun movies to see in the theater. I'm like, cool, like people are gonna like this one. Cool. Yeah, man. It was good times, dude. Lucky times. I did these movies, I don't think I guess sci-fi. It's called Mythica. I did these about when I was like 2015. I thought it was one of the best roles I ever did, man, to be honest.
Oh, this is a sci-fi movie. That's pretty recent. Yeah. Yeah, it was Mythica. We shot. It was really neat. These guys out of Utah were awesome, and we shot with sets and furs. I mean, it was like Game of Thrones. I mean, it was cool. And Kevin, what's his name? Kevin Sorbo.
Sorbo
Hercules.
Dude, that's one of the things that's like I look back at my career, man, and like all the interesting movies and moments, but Mythica was cool. In fact, Mythica, they didn't know if it was going to be a TV show or they ended up cutting it into 3 films, and it was really big on like cable for a long time. But I think about some of the obscure movies, you know what I mean? Like that movie Fear Run Silent, really bad horror movie with Billy D. Williams and a bunch of people.
I'm so embarrassed because we were trying to like look up all your horror stuff and I totally missed that one. Now we got to see that one. What's like the plot of it?
It was really fun to shoot. This guy named Jerry Wolf, who's passed away, was like a producer, casting director, and he would always call me and be like, "Hey, I'm making a movie. You want to be in the movie?" So we went up to Big Bear for like 3 weeks. It was so low budget, man. But it was so fun, just in the snow with a bunch of people and going hiking every day. Billy D. Williams was there.
What's
who else was in it? That other guy, Stacey Keach, was in it.
Oh, yes. Wait, so what is it? Is it like a killer in the snow kind of thing, or what?
Yeah, it's like I never watched it, to be honest, but it was sort of like Sasquatch's real and attacking, and like so they would dress these guys in these suits, but it looked like guys in suits, like these bear suits.
Do you survive?
Do you get killed or something?
I think I get killed. I'm pretty sure I get killed.
No. By the big Sasquatch?
You know what else was a cool movie? The Right Temptation I did, dude, with Rebecca De Mornay and Kiefer Sutherland.
Oh, wow.
That was a cool movie. That was a really cool movie. It's Kiefer Sutherland and Rebecca De Mornay. This is back probably 2000. I don't even know when. Probably early 2000s.
I love Rebecca De Mornay.
This is great. Yeah, you've worked with so many different people throughout your career. Like you should write a book. You should write a book.
Yeah.
But have a whole chapter on Christine Taylor.
No.
Christine Taylor. That's funny, man.
Yeah.
And we did so many great. Oh man, I remember it was Gary Coleman's birthday, and Hervey and I got invited. Oh man.
You and Jason Hervey from the Monster Squad?
Wonder Years, the brother.
Yeah.
Oh yes, of
We
course.
went to so it was in Santa Barbara. So Gary Coleman's dad invited like 6 or 7 people, and Jason and I was just like at our heyday, get in trouble mode. I mean, you can tell the guy's a prankster, right? To begin with.
Oh yeah,
he
looks like trouble.
We just gone to tennis camp together, okay? And we were like on this train, and we get there, and I don't know what happened, but we met some girls, and something happened where there was like a knock on the door, and it was like Gary's dad. He's like, "You guys missed the whole birthday party." We're like, "What?" We had like the hotel room in Santa Barbara. We're like, "What? Oh man, worst train ride back ever."
Oh no!
Like if you can imagine Gary Coleman making that look on the show, where he's going, "What you talking about, Willis?" He was like looking at us like that the whole ride back.
He invited you, and you guys missed the party.
We missed the whole birthday.
Wow! Oh, poor Gary Coleman.
He's like, "Where's my buddies?"
But before we wrap up, I just wanted to ask you something about something that you mentioned with the Tremors Fest that's going on. You said this year, So this is just an entire convention that's dedicated to the Tremors movies. Had there been many of these in the past? You mentioned some reunions. Yeah,
so we've done like reunion ones where we went to Louisville for the 25th anniversary. We opened the museum in Lone Pine. But last year it was called Tremors Fest, and it was in not Albuquerque, but Santa Fe. And it was awesome, and it was a huge turnout. And so they're going to do another one this year in October. It's super fun. It's in Santa Fe. There's like 1 million Tremors fans there. Incredible Q&A. I'm sure everybody will be there. We're hoping for a Kevin and Reba sighting, but for sure Michael will be there, and maybe Ariana will be there this year. It's great. The director, producers. It's just fun. It's super fun, and
sounds awesome.
Have you ever done just a regular horror movie convention, like where
I did a couple? I didn't like it.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't like I didn't like charging money for autographs. And that's not to take anything away from anybody in the world. I just personally felt uncomfortable, so I said, "Hey, listen, guys, because they what they do is they pay like these minimums to people to come out, and then you have to charge, and when you hit your minimum, you can make the rest or something." So I just said, "Don't worry about paying me anything, I'll just sign my pictures." But it didn't go over well with like the other guys there, some pretty big horror store guys. So it just didn't fit my thing, and I wish them all goodwill. I think it's so cool, but I just didn't like that part of it. Like when we do the Tremors one, we don't charge. Like there was a line. Listen, at Tremors Fest last year, the coolest part was I brought my kids, and it was like the first time, they were old enough to see me like on the big screen. And I mean, there was a line of like out the door of 100 people I was signing autographs for hours. And it was just really neat, but we didn't charge for that,
That's cool. That's actually really nice. It would make it easier if or we've always talked about this because Tim and I obviously will go to some of these horror conventions, and it's like, it'd be easier if you paid one flat fee and then you could just go to every single person and didn't have to have that awkward exchange.
Yeah. But I get the other side of it too. Like, there's some collectors and people that just, they make life a little miserable, and they don't, they just take up a lot of space. So I get why, they do what they do. Yeah. But I agree with you. I think it would be neat to have some kind of convention where just everybody's there and, you can really say hello to anybody.
Now, do you think you'd ever appear at a Night of the Demons convention?
Sure. Sure. I'd go to any of those, I mean, I did one in Seattle and I did one in Minneapolis, but that was it, Yeah. I get asked all the time.
Did you happen to steal any kind of prop from Night of the Demons too? Was there any fun props that you took?
It's a good question. Let me think. I don't think so.
You didn't
and
take
if I did,
the
it's probably,
boobs, not the fake boobs that turn into
You
a
didn't
hand.
take the lipstick.
I'll tell you what. I stole Zoe. I'll send her to you.
You know, we also didn't, because I know, you know, this is a while back, but we wanted to end by asking you, like, what are you up to today? Because I know you mentioned when we were corresponding that you're starting a new company, or so I wanted to give you a chance to talk about what you're up to.
Yeah, sure. So look, I did those films, Mythica. And, you know, when I say it's like some of my best work, like that was the first time, because I ended up becoming a studied actor. I spent 10 years studying. But you start to realize in film, if you're not in a number one movie and a lead in it, a memorable part, you're not on a hit show, you know, you get a show and then it's over, right? You know, if it's not a hit, it's very hard to make money, especially now. And so I did those movies and I'll never forget. I came back and I didn't have any money and I'd been gone for 3 months. You know, and at the time I wasn't with my kid's mom anymore. So, you know, I had the kids and I was away from them and it just hit me. My brother Scott, you know, had gotten into real estate and like flipping houses, and I would always do that with him, and it was fun. And so my friends were starting this company. You know, it was a lending company. Like, you know, they lend money to guys who do these flips, like guys who you see on TV, flip houses, right? And I'm like, come work at a company? I don't know. That's weird. I've never worked a corporate job. But it was fun, man. And it was like a bunch of people, and you know, I didn't know what I was doing. I was an executive. It's actually funny. I was an executive of this company, and we grew. I mean, grew big. We ended up selling the company to Goldman Sachs. Okay, but I had to use all my acting skills. I'm like, okay, no, dude, I can do this, man. So I had to go present in the boardroom. Like, all I know from that is like, you know, Mr. like, you know, head of the class or something. Like, I don't know what the boardroom is, right? A secret of my success. So I literally was watching YouTube videos on how to present a boardroom. I swear to God, YouTube is amazing. And I crushed it. And I'm like, wait, I can do this. And then I realized they were all kind of acting anyway, too. So what I'm doing is, we built the biggest and baddest private construction lender in the country. We sold it to Goldman Sachs. They kept on 4 people as executives. I was one of them. We grew the company much bigger over the next, call it 5 years. And then we retraded the company again to a company called Fortress and Rhythm, which is a $35 billion REIT. And, you know, I parted ways with them almost a year ago in May. You know, it just kind of reached its peak. All my friends I built the company with were either fired, let go, or had left. And, you know, I was looking around the room and I realized, like, wow, the only thing that made this cool was being around friends and doing something with people that you respected, sort of like making a movie, you know? Mm-hmm. And so what I'm doing now is I joined another company and we're trying to recreate the magic, and it's going really well. That's what I'm doing.
It's great.
That's awesome.
Well, best of luck.
But I am trying to figure out, because all my friends still make movies, you know, like big movies. So I've always been trying to figure out, like, you know, all this capital and financing that goes, like, you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Billions of dollars. Through these relationships of people that have never got into the movie business. So it's like, is there, like, you know, a Da Vinci Code here to solve and put these people together and start making some movies? I did produce a movie called, which was a horror movie with Anthony and Michael Hall.
What? Halloween Kills?
It was called Friend Request.
Ooh, I
like that title.
Wait, why do I feel like that sounds really familiar? Not just because
it was like a Facebook movie before Facebook was like super big, and we got Anthony Michael Hall, and I was so excited, man. And we shot it in Utah. It was so cool. Except, you know, Mike shows up. He's like, "Hey, yeah, is there somewhere to go out? You know, just to, you know." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, let's go out." We go out to a bar, whatever. It's like 1. It's like 2. It's like 3. It's like, Mike, dude, you got to be at the radio station at 6. Right? I said, "Yep, I got it." Like, oh, shit.
He's like, "I'm good. I've done this before."
Fucking rock star, man. What a cool dude. Childhood hero.
If Tremors came knocking, would you be interested again?
Yeah, would you ever come back?
It's interesting, man. Yes, you know, I think Universal, actually, the rights revert back to the producers. You know, and it would be interesting to rethink how to do the movie, where you didn't have the constraints that Mike had over all the low budget ones. And I mean, that just, we'll just treat it like a multiverse situation.
I mean, or maybe they could do.
How about Tremors the multiverse?
Well, they could, but I mean, or if they just wanted to do a reboot, like, and get the original people back years later, and you never know. Like that's like nowadays, it's all about like. They call them legacy sequels, if you know that term, like in horror, where it's a sequel, but they bring back people that have been like the original stars of the movie.
And that's
so you
all
never know.
Fans want to see.
Yeah, fans want that. That's the thing. They want these legacy sequels. So you never know. Maybe you guys can discuss that at the con in October.
What would you guys put in the movie? Forget about anything that happened in any sequel or the show. Throw it all away. Where would the movie pick up?
I would say that it would take it back to basics and it would be a sequel just to the original. So none of the crazy stuff that came in the sequels, and it's just like the Graboids, and they've come back to this, or they've come back to perfection. Maybe perfection's like a big, now much more developed city. Let's say
Ariana's getting married.
Yeah,
everyone, the whole town meets
you're
up
like
again.
the mayor.
Yeah.
You're the mayor of perfection, and then they have to get Kevin back and Fred. Fred Woods, did he pass away?
Did pass.
Okay, so they get Kevin Bacon to come back.
Or you guys all could be meeting.
Here's what I would do. Yeah. Here's how I would do. And I'm going to pitch this to the guys now.
Do it.
What's the big show that was on with the zombies? It's really famous.
Walking Dead. Yeah.
Okay. I would do a Walking Dead comedy Tremors reboot. Tremors I would take perfection. Nobody's there. I mean, maybe I'm just there and I'm sleeping in the trailer, trying to keep the water pump going. Kevin's gone, everybody's gone. Maybe some people are still there. You introduce some new people, but there's been something's happened where the world is shutting down. It's like COVID on crack, and people have to leave the big cities because there's these zombies. And they stumble upon perfection because it's a perfect location to make a stand. So people start filling up this town, but the Tremors, the monsters are still there and under the ground. So they have to find this guy, not Earl, but Val, who they heard had taken care of this the first time. They find him somewhere, they bring him back, and we make this stand. And it's like this whole thing.
I love that.
I would watch that movie.
They become our unwitting allies. They help us against the bad guys that come to get us. So at some point, the only people left who are in perfection, and all the monsters are coming, and we somehow get the monsters the original Tremors worms to help us because they like to eat the monsters better. That's what.
I love that.
Yeah,
and can you
watch that movie?
Can you get Reba back? Really? Can you get Reba back too to get her off The Voice for a chance to?
I would love to. I am gonna actually. I'm gonna ping those guys today, and I'm gonna be like, "Look, we have time. We got to get Reba to Santa Fe. We got to get Ariana to Santa Fe.
Yeah,
we got to try to bug Kevin to get him to Santa Fe."
Oh my God. Yeah. Especially, I mean, I feel like, again, I read that quote. It's the single most, the most fun he's ever had doing a movie. So I feel like that would be such a great.
He was in Friday the 13th, which
he was in the
really
original Friday the 13th, which, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
He's got his death scene so great.
It's iconic.
Yeah. Do you remember being kids, how scary that movie was?
I love it's my favorite film. I mean, Night of the Demons 2.
Nightmare on Elm Street was the worst. That ruined me.
Oh yeah, of course.
I just remember that one line. Was it Rodney Eastman?
That's part 3.
Part 3.
Yeah.
Rodney. I used to know Rodney. He goes like, "I don't believe in you," or something like that.
But I believe in you.
Goes, "You." That was I fell in love with those movies.
Oh, so we have one final question for you, and we ask this to everyone we interview. Kind of puts you on the spot, and you've actually already told us a few details that would qualify for this. But what is one thing that you can tell us about your experience working on either Tremors or Night of the Demons 2 that you've never told any other interviewer, publication, or podcaster? Just one thing. It doesn't have to be like the juiciest, craziest thing, or it could be, but just one thing you've never told to any interviewer or podcaster about Tremors or Night of the Demons 2.
I mean, look, the last name story is pretty good. How I got the name Melvin Plug, right?
That was a good one. That does qualify, yeah.
That's pretty good. I'll tell you something that's timely. I was young. There's a scene I have the gun,
Mm-hmm.
and in between takes, I was kind of waving it around, and I'll never forget. I got so embarrassed. I remember to this day, the person who's in charge of props, not the gun person. There's always there's an armorer and there's a head of props. He didn't take me aside in front of everybody because he wanted everybody, I think, like looking back, I think he wanted everybody to recognize how important it is to not play around with a gun and that you have to take it seriously. Because I think everybody struggles. And don't you ever point that on my set. I don't care who's directing this fucking movie or producing it. I don't care about Universal Studios. You will never hold a gun again on my set. Don't you ever fucking wave a gun around like that again.
Wow.
I never did. But, I was, embarrassed, and I just remember everybody shaking their head like that. Even Mike Takuzi was like, and then the motel thing happened. It was like, oh my God. I'm like,
no, but you know what?
The point was, when you think about what's going on, what happened now.
I was just going to say, it makes sense. Like that actually is a good thing that they do that with teenagers, so that there aren't accidents.
I think you would have did it with anybody,
Oh yeah, true.
It's not a joke. Because look, man, it doesn't matter if it's 30 something years later. It only takes one time.
Yeah.
One time.
Scary.
And I mean, you're talking about it today, so it left an impression.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was embarrassed.
You're like, just check me into that hotel under Melvin Plug already.
There's a couple of good stories, but I'll tell you offline.
Okay. Oh, nice. Okay. Well, yeah. Well, look, we had a great time chatting with you. Seriously, thank you.
Great interview.
Thank you for taking the time. Like we know, like these movies were a while ago and stuff, but this has been great, and we're big fans, and we hope that they do like Tremors movie or reboot or something.
And everyone, check out your brother's film, Bad Ronald.
The cool movie. To this day, man, people who grew up in that era,
Yeah, it's because he lives in the walls. He watches a family.
You got to watch that movie, man.
I have not seen it. I'm gonna watch it.
He's like mentally disturbed or something, and like his mom has to hide him, I think, from the authorities because he does
under
something.
The stairs, yeah.
Right, and so she like closes up this room so you can't tell that he's there, and then she dies or something. She's gone. And then
a new family moves in. Yeah,
I've never seen a house where you can move between the walls.
Your family needs to all get together at the next holiday and have a horror movie marathon of all the horror movies you guys have been in, from your brothers to you. Tremors, Bad Ron, Bloody Birthday, Night of the Demons,
X-Ray,
Cujo. Just watch all of them in a row,
or just do it on Halloween.
Yeah, or on Halloween. That would be awesome.
That would be awesome. Look, guys, you guys in LA? No?
Yeah, in fact, it's funny because you mentioned your bar being in Sherman Oaks. I live right above Sherman Oaks and Valley Glen. I live like right on.
It's on Van Eisenmoor Park. It's called the Barrel.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. Like, I mean, that's
we don't even open till 2 or 3. You guys should do your podcast from there sometimes and have like live people like that you bring in.
That would be awesome.
That was like your folks that are there in the audience. You do like a live podcast. That'd be cool.
That would be awesome.
I'm calling Christine.
Calling Christine Taylor. Get her on. Her and Danielle Harris. Help us with Danielle Harris.
Yeah, you're friends.
We got to find her, man. We got to send in the Navy SEALs and locate Danielle.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks, we'll be in touch as to when the episode's going to come out, and like we really appreciate it. Definitely want to keep in touch.
We'll come to your bar. We'll
check down the bar, man. We have karaoke. We have. I'm not into the Grateful Dead, but Monday nights are packed Grateful Dead night. We have Tuesday. We have live. We have like 12 or 15 musicians that all come in. It's like open mic, but only for musicians, and they each play 2 songs. Whoever gets up. We have bands. Awesome. We have a great Friday night. That's fun, like DJ karaoke.
I love karaoke.
Listen, I always thought that you should look it up online. It's called the Barrel Tavern. It's a really cool space inside with a stage. I always thought about like if I did a podcast, I always loved how they do the podcast for sports and they're at a bar or something. I would not recommend it like with the regular crowd. You get like cheered. But if ever you wanted to do a special and bring a group of friends, it'd be pretty cool to do a live. If you could do it, figure it out.
No, that's awesome. Thank you. We'll definitely keep that in mind, and we're 100% going to visit your bar. I mean, it's like literally right down the road.
Yeah, and if you guys are trying to get somebody, or if I know them, if I can help, happy to do it.
Thank you. Really appreciate that.
much.
Seriously, that's really nice of you.
All right, guys.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take care. We'll talk soon, okay?
See you later, bud.
Okay, bye.
See you later. Thanks for listening to another episode of Happy Horror Time.
If you'd like to support the podcast, please sign up to be a patron at www.patreon.com/happyhorrortime. As a patron, you get access to all our bonus content, which now includes 2 new bonus episodes every month, a monthly after show mini episode, access to our Discord community so you can chat with us directly, and the chance to review a film with us in one of our bonus episodes.
Patrons also get all our regular episodes ad-free and a day early, our monthly newsletter, the chance to vote in polls, and autographed Happy Horror Time stickers.
I'm Matt Emmert.
And I'm Tim Murdoch.
And we hope you have a happy horror time.